From the dawn of August 1st, 2025, emergency alarms began to blare across Beijing and the surrounding mountain villages, a relentless, piercing roar that shattered the silence of the night and tore into sleeping hearts. These were not ordinary warnings. They were desperate cries screaming of an unforgiving disaster on its way. Flood sirens joined the chorus, an unending, deafening wail that filled the sky and the earth, shouting at every soul, "Evacuate now, or everything will drown." In the western and northern mountain districts, Mentego, Fangshan, Huairu, Changping, Miyun, the once peaceful rivers turned into raging monsters. Waters exploded with destructive fury, swallowing bridges in seconds. Stone and steel bridges built over decades collapsed like autumn leaves, plunging into the churning brown depths. Imagine it, an entire family in their car, trying to cross. Then suddenly the bridge vanishes beneath them, and the flood drags them away, screams swallowed by the roar of torrential rain. In the highland villages, whole homes vanished from the hillsides. Houses built by parents and grandparents with years of sweat and hope were wiped clean, as if they had never existed. Massive mudslides buried roads, ripping asphalt away like wet paper. Cars were submerged, flipped over, piled atop one another in grotesque heaps of wreckage. Images from Mentegu and Miyun show children crying beside half-sunken family vehicles, elderly people staring in stunned silence at what little remained of their lives. More than 242 bridges were damaged or completely destroyed. Over 24,000 homes reduced to ruins. Preliminary reports speak of more than 1 million people evacuated, 1 million human beings who left everything behind, 1 million hearts pounding with fear and grief. From crowded urban neighborhoods to remote mountain hamlets, families moved in massive convoys carrying whatever they could, leaving their memories to drown. Picture a mother clutching her infant, walking through pouring rain, tears streaming as she looks back at the home the waters have claimed. Or an elderly man sitting in a temporary shelter, holding an old family photo, remembering days when life felt safe. Young children shivering from cold and terror, not understanding why they had to leave their toys and beds behind. And the adults, carrying a deep wound in their souls, the loss of the home they built with dreams, the loss of the security they thought would last forever. This suffering is not just numbers. It is the tears of mothers who lost children to the floods. It is grandfathers watching their life's work dissolve into mud. It is children who will sleep tonight in sports stadiums turned into shelters, wondering when they will ever go home again. The psychological wound cuts deeper than the physical one. How does a person rebuild a life after losing everything in a single night? Yet in the midst of this immense pain, the Chinese people rise with legendary resilience. These are the same people who have faced disasters throughout history. Now they stand together more strongly than ever. Neighbors helping neighbors, young people carrying the elderly on their backs, volunteers distributing food and water in the shelters. They face the hardship with determination, with hope that refuses to die. They know rebuilding will be long and painful, but they will rebuild, stronger, more united, more aware of nature's power. Here are some vital guidelines that everyone, young and old, should know, because disasters give no warning, and safety begins with awareness. Always listen to official warnings. If you hear emergency alarms or receive an evacuation order, do not hesitate. Leaving early saves lives. Keep an emergency bag ready at all times. Important documents, medicines, water, food, warm clothes, and a phone charger. Help the most vulnerable first. The elderly, children, people with special needs. Never leave anyone behind. Never drive through flooded roads. Even half a meter of moving water can sweep away a car. In shelters, stay calm, help one another, and care for your mental health. Talk, cry if you need to, but never lose hope. After the disaster, be patient. Rebuilding takes time, but with unity and collective effort, we will overcome everything. The heavy rains are still forecast for the second half of the week, and the crisis continues. Waters still block roads. Villages remain cut off. Power is out. Yet in the hearts of this great people, there is a light of hope, a light that says, we will cry today, but we will smile tomorrow. We will lose today, but we will build something better tomorrow. This is not merely a natural disaster. It is a human story of pain and endurance, of loss and hope, a story that reminds us all, young and old, that life is fragile, but the human spirit is stronger than any flood. In the western and northern districts, Mentugu, Fangshan, Huairu, Changping, Miyun, the calm rivers became furious beasts. Torrents erupted, devouring bridges in moments. Ancient stone and steel spans crumpled like paper, vanishing into the churning mud. Imagine the horror, families fleeing in cars, bridges collapsing beneath them, screams lost in the thunder of rain. Highland homes, built with generations of love, were erased from the hillsides in seconds. Massive mudslides tore away roads, flipped cars, buried lives under debris. Over 240 bridges gone, thousands of homes reduced to rubble. More than 80,000 people evacuated in frantic convoys, leaving memories to drown. But the deepest pain, the one that breaks the soul, is the suffering of the most innocent, the infants. Helpless, tiny babies, swept into the chaos of raging waters. Picture a mother, arms aching, clutching her newborn against the flood's brutal pull. The current rips at them both, cold brown waves crashing over fragile bodies. The infant's cries, thin, piercing, terrified, drowned by the roar of the torrent. Tiny lungs filling with water, little hands grasping at nothing as the flood carries them away. No words can capture that agony. A life so new, so full of promise, stolen in an instant by nature's fury. Mothers screaming their children's names into the storm, hearts shattering as the waters claim what is most precious. Fathers diving desperately into the mud, searching for a glimpse of a blanket, a cry, anything, but finding only silence. These little ones who had barely begun to see the world endured unimaginable terror in their final moments, cold, choking, alone in the dark rush of death. The grief of parents left behind is eternal, a wound that no time can heal. This suffering is not just loss. It is the tears of children who survived but witnessed horror, shivering in shelters, haunted by the waters that took siblings or friends. Mothers rocking empty arms, whispering lullabies to ghosts. The psychological scars on the young, nightmares of drowning, fear of rain, a stolen childhood. Yet amid this heartbreak, the Chinese people shine with unbreakable spirit. Neighbors carrying the weak, volunteers comforting the grieving, communities uniting in shared pain. They face the darkness with courage, knowing rebuilding will be slow, but hope endures. Vital guidelines for all, young and old, because disasters strike without mercy. Heed warnings immediately. Evacuate early to save lives. Prepare an emergency kit. Documents, medicine, food, water, warm clothes. Protect the vulnerable first. Infants, children, elderly. Never cross flooded roads. Water hides deadly power. In shelters, hold each other close. Talk through the fear. Never lose hope. Rebuild with patience and unity. Heavy rains lingered into August. Roads cut off. Villages isolated. Dozens lost, including many elderly in a flooded care home. But in this great people's hearts burns a light. We weep today for the lost, especially the littlest ones, but we rise tomorrow, stronger together. This is a story of profound sorrow and human resilience. A reminder that life is fragile, especially for the innocent, but the spirit endures beyond any flood.